Okay. So just for like background, just give
Mhm.
us your name, like where you're from,
Okay.
just a little bit about yourself.
Okay, I'm Wayne Lax, LAX, born in Detroit, Michigan. 56 years old. We moved to Wyoming in 1999 and been here ever since. We had no knowledge or background on things about like split estates and mineral rights. When we bought our house in 2000, we bought a 5-acre place east of town, and we were happy as hell. We love it out there. We're on top of a hill, and it's a beautiful view of the mountains and the valley around us. And somewhere around 2010, a landman came knocking on our door, and I think, asked about doing seismic testing on our land. And right about the same time, Paul Cook, the founder of the Cheyenne Area Landowners Coalition, had an article in the paper where he was interviewed under the same circumstance about a mile up the road from where we lived. So that's when we first were kind of pushed out of our cocoon or whatever it is and exposed to all this oil and gas stuff.
So I guess you talk about some of the groups you work with. You said you work with CALC. And
Yep, I am vice president of CALC, and I'm also, this is my first year on the board of directors with Powder River Basin Resource Council. They were after me for a couple of years to do that, but I wasn't really comfortable doing that, devoting the kind of attention and time that I felt it deserved until I wasn't working anymore. And I'm now retired a year from working, so then I felt it was a good time to do that. And Marilyn Ham asked me if I could replace her, and at the same time Powder River asked me if I could join, so I felt it was the right time to do that.
So what kind of work have you guys done with Powder River and CALC to mitigate the impacts of oil and gas?
Well, I worked pretty closely with Casey Quinn, and I know they developed the brochure that's gone out to potentially affected people, and we also field calls and emails. We recently put up a Facebook page, and that got the attention of some people, including the county commissioners and just some people affected. And we were informed. Alex Bollard, now the president, who was the treasurer at the time, was contacted by a lady that lives just up the road from me about them potentially fracking underneath a huge subdivision of hundreds of homes and 400 or 500 kids at an elementary school. And they were pretty vociferous, or whatever the word is, loudly concerned about all that. So we tried to gather information, gather decision makers, and get the press involved, and help stage a meeting with those people, and got the thing pretty well shut down. Although at our meeting just the other week, last week, I point blank asked the state oil and gas commissioner head, Mark Watson, what is the status of those permits? Because Ward Petroleum stated unequivocally that they'd withdrawn these applications for a permit to drill, and that is just not the case. They are still with the Oil and Gas Commission, but they've chosen not to move on them at all because they feel they don't meet the criteria that they want to approve these permits for reasons they haven't really made too much public about, but they just say they don't meet the criteria. And the other thing that Mr. Watson said to me after the meeting was that if a well meets their criteria, they just approve it. There's not much gray area to them. They either meet the criteria or they don't, and they pretty much, everything that's thrown in front of them pretty much meets their criteria, because the best interest of the mineral owners is what they represent.
Sure. So when you guys were approached by the landman, what was like the immediate thoughts, or like what kind of brought forth your concerns, and what are your concerns, I guess, with
Sure.
your guest being near your home?
Yeah, well, I couldn't really have a better existence than what we were having here in Wyoming. We had 5 acres, we had beautiful area, beautiful home, good jobs, everything what we wanted out of a place. And then all of a sudden, you come to find out that you don't own your mineral rights. We never had the opportunity to do that anyway, given how the subdivision was sold. But we come from the Midwest, where none of that was really an issue or something we'd even think about. So around 2010, when a guy comes up to your porch, I basically asked him, I said, do we have any say in this? And he basically said no. He said, we're going to do the testing around here pretty much whether you guys like it or not, and we'll still steer clear of your land, but we're going to test underneath you and around you, and we're going to see what's around. And then we started, my wife and I, doing some research, finding out basically that we're a split estate, and we basically hold no rights other than surface rights, and really all surface rights do is potentially protect you from surface damage, be it people with larger acreage. They've got fences for their animals, and they've got potential damage to crops from roads or erosion or things that the oil and gas industry are doing. But we're fortunate in one respect that over the 17 years we've been here, they've built other subdivisions around ours, and they kind of act as a bit of a buffer zone, that they don't have enough land, open land within a couple miles of us that they're able to get a well in. So we used to complain about the fact that we were starting to get neighbors, but now they're kind of our insurance. We're concerned about, obviously, air quality, water, water damage, or just toxic chemicals that can be used in fracking getting into our water supply, because if it's ruined once, it's ruined for good. And probably second or third down the list is property values, because they stick a big old oil well in front of your house like they've done to a lot of people I know. Good luck trying to sell the place if you ever wanted to move, or you got to worry about that. You got to worry about underground things happening, foundations. They're fracking underneath your homes, even though Mr. Watson says it's 9,000 feet down. Don't worry about it. How could you not?
Yeah, and I mean, especially with what happened in Firestone.
Sure.
I mean, you got
Yeah. A lot of the questions at the meeting we had, the round table, centered around what happened in Firestone and what the state is going to do in terms of increasing the safety of the operations here. And they basically said they're monitoring it and they're going to think about it. But they're not being too proactive. They're waiting to see how it all plays out. And with the NTSB involved in that, I think initially that sounds like a really good thing, that the NTSB is heading the investigation of pipelines down there, but that could bog things down in a federal way that could take years for them to determine. And I don't know eventually if murder charges are going to come up related to this, but you could certainly see that. And we're all really closely watching that, and I've been sharing a lot of that on the Cheyenne Area Landowners Coalition Facebook page, and a lot of people are real interested. I think it boils down to this for me, and I think it's a pretty simple question that I put in front of anyone I can, be it legislator or the Oil and Gas Commission, or anyone that's got some power in this, or even the oil and gas industry themselves, people that I've met face to face. And I ask them, do you think a toxic industrial plant is a good idea for a subdivision? Because that's basically what they're doing. And I just think that it's a simple conclusion. There's two simple conclusions I draw. One, a toxic industrial plant is not a good idea in a subdivision or a populated area. And the other one is, cement will crack underground 100% of the time, every time. So as much as they want to preach about the safety of this process, it's an expletive.
That's perfect. Do you have anything else you want to add? I mean, because we could.
Give your hand a rest for a minute.
You can think about
Carpal
it.
tunnel there.
Yeah.
You should have brought the tripod. Well,
I'm now a statue.
I think there's so much negative surrounding all this, but I do feel that there are some really passionate and caring people that are your ally, and it just takes a little bit of looking around to find out who that is. And really the biggest one I know of is Powder River Basin Resource Council, because they represent little people in the big battle. And that's what this is. We're just homeowners. We don't have the hammer in all of this. We don't have strong representation on our own. But Powder River's been going up against these big companies and corporations and fighting the legal battle, the legislative battle for decades. They've got legal experts, they've got field experts, and they've got access to more than that. So I was excited beyond words when Cheyenne Area Landowners Coalition allied themselves as an affiliate with Powder River Basin Resource Council and ultimately with the Western organization. So we feel like, you're not in this alone. You've got some people that are listening to you and fighting with you. And I do get frustrated at times because it feels like, you're banging your head against the wall, but there are things that happen and there are victories and there are passionate people there to help you if you seek them out.
Cool.